Welcome to Oliver Gospel's second online webinar. We are so glad you're here. If you missed the first one, no worries. Each webinar can be viewed independently and offers unique information. This is the second of 4 summer webinars. Our hope is really just to continue offering more education to the community, especially around poverty and practical ways to help. We come from the point of view that we are all on the same team. We're all working together as a community. It takes a village to help people, so we want to do that all together. We're all on that same mission together. But yeah, today the topic is homelessness, how to help. If you're new to Oliver Gospel, I just want to go ahead and tell you a bit about us. We were founded in 1888, and we've been a Christ-centered ministry since the beginning, serving those experiencing homelessness or poverty. We were founded by Reverend Robert Oliver. He was a pastor and real estate agent in Columbia. There's some really cool stories about that I have to save for another day. But really who we are is best encapsulated in our mission, engaging and transforming lives together through the power of Christ's love. And that's really what we're doing today, and learning how to do that better together today. We have a lot of different ministry programs at Oliver Gospel. There's really 4 main ones. The Men's Center on Taylor Street that I know a lot of you are familiar with, as well as Toby's Place for Women and Children off of 2 Notch Road, which started in 2017. But whether it's through our Men's Center or Toby's Place, and then also our thrift store and the Roastery on Taylor Street, we want to offer hope, love, and opportunity to everyone who comes to our doors. That's our heartbeat. We don't only offer resources to meet physical needs, such as shelter, medicine, and food, but we also offer significant relationships that help men and women grow professionally and spiritually. So that's really who we are. Thank you for being a part of that. I want to go ahead and introduce your hosts today. We do want to hear from you during this webinar. So as I'm introducing myself and Kanisha here, please put in the chat box, just go ahead and put your name, where you're from, and let's say your favorite thing about Oliver Gospel. So you can go ahead and do that now in the chat while I'm giving some introductions here. My name is Will Huff. I am the Donor Relations Officer at Oliver Gospel. I really love connecting with donors in the community and helping you stay connected with Oliver Gospel in a meaningful way. I'm not from Columbia originally. I grew up in Japan, where my parents are missionaries, but I now live in Irma with my beautiful wife, Emily, and our 9-month-old daughter. That is just, I love my family and I love my life and I love working at Oliver Gospel. I'm speaking with Kanisha Keat today. She is the Connections Manager at Oliver Gospel. She has a social work degree from Columbia College, and I think you're finishing up your master's in organizational leadership this fall.
Yes.
Oh, that's really cool. And I know she has a passion for helping humanity reach their fullest potential. She, before coming to Oliver Gospel, worked in the foster care system with at-risk teenagers. So real quick though, Kanisha, tell me a bit more about you. What brought you to Oliver Gospel and anything that I missed there?
Yes. So I started actually at Oliver Gospel as a resident assistant at nighttime. And after maybe doing that for maybe about 9 months, then I moved into case management at Toby's Place. Both of those job roles was at Toby's Place. And then I moved up to being connections manager here on Taylor Street. And I really, really love to connect with the people, and I get to connect with them all day, every day, whether it's on the phone, through email, them knocking on the door, coming in, introducing themselves. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, Kanisha really is one of the first people that someone might meet when they're coming to Oliver Gospel for the first time. She's a connector. She is going to help that person with their next steps. And I'll tell you what, I love it. But sometimes, when I go down to talk with Kanisha, like I want to meet with her about something, there's always someone in her office and she's helping them with the next steps. And I feel like
Yes.
sometimes I'm always trying to uh, get in line to meet with Kanisha. Yeah, we really, really love Kanisha on our team, and she does a phenomenal job. Thank you for the participation in the chat. I do see a lot of names I know.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're just so glad to spend some time with you today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Just a few notes before we begin. I'll be talking with Kanisha and pulling from her expertise and role at Oliver Gospel. She's going to help us understand how to practically help someone who is facing homelessness or poverty. The format is very simple. If you were here last time, it's very similar, very conversational. And we do want your interaction during the webinar as well. Please do put your comments in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. At the end of the webinar, I'll be asking the question to all of us, really, how does helping people help me? And any stories to share. So please do, if you have a thought or have something to contribute, maybe a story, a personal story, you can put that in the chat box. If we have time, we will read some of those out loud. But to our topic at hand, let me just give a little bit of an introduction. If you're here, you're probably wondering, can I really do something? Can I really have an impact? Can I really help? And the answer is yes, you can. And that's good news. You do not need to be a trained professional to love your neighbor. And we're going to really help build a lot of the tools that you need today. Kind of put some tools in your toolbox. So our topic today is homelessness, how to help. In the last webinar, we defined poverty as the extent to which someone goes without. In this webinar, we are trying to learn how to better assist and come alongside those experiencing poverty, specifically facing homelessness. It's clear in Scripture that we are to love our neighbor. But the appropriate next question is for each neighbor, how? How do I love my neighbor? And that is the guiding question of this webinar. It's not a question of should I love my neighbor? It's a question of how to love my neighbor. So how to help is what we're doing there. So we're going to provide some principles, examples, and ultimately tools that you can use, hopefully, for the rest of your life. We are going to start building your toolbox today for helping people. But please know, this is only scratching the surface. We are staff at Oliver Gospel, yes, but we are firstly people with compassion like you who are growing daily and learning how to love our neighbor. Loving your neighbor is not always as simple as 1, 2, 3. Sometimes we don't see the transformation story. Sometimes it's very unclear how to help someone. And if you're like me, you make mistakes in the process. But know that we, like you, are simply here trying to get a little bit better every day at loving our neighbors and ultimately becoming more like Jesus. So how's that for an intro? That brings us to the topic at hand. To start us off, Kanisha, this is not an exhaustive list, but we've got 5 guiding principles for helping someone experiencing homelessness. So I wanted to go here to the first one. And our first guiding principle for helping someone experiencing homelessness is to be kind. So Kanisha, why don't you walk us through a little bit about what it means to be kind?
Absolutely. So the first guiding principle is simple. Just be kind. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, it talks about love, where it says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It
Mm,
always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. So
mm,
just remembering that as you help someone, just be kind, and just recognizing that that person is made in the image of God, so they deserve respect as much
mm,
as you do. So just keeping that in the back of your mind, and also just being kind could just be smiling, greeting someone by their first name, and um, continually saying their name throughout the conversation. That helps as well build rapport with that person or with that individual. So those are just some things. Also, body language. That is really huge when you're dealing with someone in a situation of homelessness. Um, you always have to remember your body language, your face expressions, everything. You never just fold your arms, you never tapping your feet, because that brings off the energy of, okay, you don't want to talk to me,
mm.
or I'm ignoring, I'm annoying you, so you just want to hurry up so you can get by your day. So never looking at your watch saying, oh, okay, oh, okay, doing
Yeah.
that. It's just saying, hey, yeah. So it's saying like, hey, you want to get to know them. So just be very cautious of those things.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yes. And also leaning in and engaging fully with that individual,
Hmm.
so that that can make sure that that does help with being kind as well. So leaning in, I know a lot of people don't want to do that because it's COVID right now, and they're fright with COVID germs and different things like that. But just being engaged fully with that individual in that conversation, and be kind to yourself as well. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt, so you're not beating up yourself if you don't say anything that you feel is helpful, or saying things perfectly, or perhaps even missing the opportunity. Someone can be across the street or across the highway and you really want to help them, but you're like, hey, I can't get to them right now. But don't beat up yourself for that. Just understand that helping is really a process. It is. It really is.
Oh, I love what you have to say there, Kanisha. And I think especially with body language, it's so vitally important. I think, you know, I try to think, someone that you encounter, you may be the one human contact they have all day. And what kind of impression are you giving them? How can you be different than the average? How can you go above and beyond the type of response that that person is receiving on the regular? Because like I said, you might be the one human touch that person receives all day. And how can we go above and beyond? How does our body say, you are not invisible to me? I see.
Right.
I think that, and Kanisha and I talk about this all the time. One of the gifts that you can give someone is eye contact, your
Mhm.
attention, eye contact, a smile, even a wave.
Mhm.
These are gifts, and I mean that point very seriously. Um, Maybe this first principle seems how do I say, cliche or not a serious point, but it is a very serious point, because I confess to you myself, I even struggle with when I see someone who I think maybe might need help. It's easy for me to want to go to the other side of the street, or kind of put my head down,
Mhm.
not give them my attention. But if that person is made in the image of God, and that person is my neighbor, I actually have a responsibility to be polite, to be kind, even to give my eye contact, even if it's as simple as good morning, sir, good morning, ma'am. These are things I challenge myself with all the time, and I'm always trying to grow. We want to be real and authentic people. Um,
Right. And I also wanted to add as well, people can sense when it's not sincere. They can
mm,
tell that when it's not sincere. They'll let you know, like, okay, no, you're not the real deal, or you're not going to help me, or
yeah,
you just in it for this reason or for that reason. And now that you mentioned that, like building rapport, like that's really huge. Like
yeah,
I've been here for maybe going on, well, 2 months being here in my role as the connections manager. So opening the door, greeting with the smile, hey, how are you doing? Come in, being inviting, it goes a long ways. And I've had some of the same people come in just to say, hey, I just came in here to speak. I don't want anything. I just want to see your face
yeah,
because you always make me smile, or you always make me feel good about myself.
yeah,
So that is really, really, really key when you think about being kind. Yes.
absolutely. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
We'll go on to the second principle now, and this is, oh, I'm sorry, have a plan. Um, Tell us a little bit about this, Kanisha. I think this one is very important. What do we mean by have a plan?
Yes, so you have to assume already in your mind that someone is going to ask you for help. That's the first thing, assumptions of, okay, I know somebody might come up to me. So
Yeah,
what am I going to do if that person comes up to me, or if they come up to my car, if that person approaches me on the sidewalk? What am I going to do? So having a plan is so important. And the first thing about having a plan would be to create a habit. Know your resources and consider maybe rehearsing a script or something like, how will I help this person? Because it is such a helpful tool. That also goes back to body language as well. Knowing, like, okay, how am I going to react if someone says this, if someone does this, if someone, makes this move, or they walk around me, or they walk behind me. You need to just be very conscious of that to have a plan. Have a plan of safety is important as well. Having a plan to help them as well. So just knowing how to quickly respond is really important. And prescript can be as easily as, how can I help you? So whenever I answer the phone here at the Connection Center, the first thing I do is, when I pick up the phone, I say, hello, this is Connection Center. This is Kanisha speaking. And once they hear that, they start talking. Then once that's done, is, okay, how can I help you? Like, what are you looking for? What services can I provide for you? That's really responsive and is very quick. Just out here the other day, a guy was sitting on the pavement, and I was walking by with the lunch tray, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? And he was like, oh, no, I'm good. I'm okay. But if that person needed anything, it's good to have a plan to say, hey, well, come in here and let me help you. Or, is there anything I can do to help you, to get you any resources for anything? So always having a plan can be just as simple as, how can I help you, and how can I assist you, and what community resources do you know? A really good community resource that we always use, and that's kind of quick because they are the central resource place. That way that um, when they call this place, they can point them right in the right direction, even if you can't point them and target them into the right agency. So United Way of Midlands 211 is very simple. A lot of people ask me, well, what's the number? And I'm like, it's 211. That's it. It's just 211, like 911. But it's for resources. So that's another way to be able to be prepared. Another way to be prepared is, if someone comes up to your car, and they're maybe saying, I'm hungry, I need money for food. Always maybe storing bags in your car, of like water bottles, snacks, You can, I was telling, we were talking about this earlier, Will, you can go to Food Lion and get you like a 24 pack of potato chips that comes in all variety assorted potato chips that's like $6.99. And then you can get you a case of water for like $3.98. That's under $10, something that you can have that's just there so that you can hand that person. Or you can have a Bible or umbrella or poncho or anything that will be of assistance to that person. And you have to be very vigilant with your plan and very timely with your plan, because if you're at a stoplight, that light is going to change. It's not going to stay red forever. So you need to already have the plan together and ready to give that to that individual. So that way you're not holding up traffic.
Yeah. Oh,
But
that's
yeah.
good. I love that. There's about 900 people that are experiencing homelessness in Richland County. That's a lot of people. And so it is very safe to assume that you will be asked for help. And what a blessing, actually, to be asked for help. What an opportunity. We don't get
Right.
those opportunities every day to help someone, to help a fellow human being. So we're first thankful for those opportunities. But yeah, having a plan, even creating a habit of helping. What is your script? Kind of what we mean by that is you drive to work every day, and you don't have to think about driving because you've done it so many times. Using things like muscle memory or all the tools that emergency services men and women might use when they practice a certain procedure over and over and over again, so that when something happens, when you have an opportunity, you know what you're going to say. So it might be sitting down with a friend or a family member, take a piece of paper, a pen, and kind of think about, okay, what are my values? What are moments that what can I give someone when they ask me for help? What do I want to give? What can I give? Can I give my time? Can I give my attention? If you can give your time, so how much? Put a number to that. Um, you know, kind of think through these things. A script might be, you know, should be very identical to how you talk to anyone, really. Hi, I'm Will. What's your name? How are you today? Very simple. It doesn't need to be um, different in that way. But just even thinking through these things can be a huge help. And really what Kanisha was saying there about kind of having blessing bags in your car, something that if someone comes up to your car and they're looking for help, you have something very quickly you can give someone, and you're prepared for that instead of caught off guard, kind of turning your head. We want to be planning on that. Um, and so, particularly if you wanted to befriend someone, if you wanted to get to know someone, do you know what places you would want to meet with someone? Is there a coffee shop that you want to frequent, that you feel comfortable sitting and getting to know someone at? Just these questions can be huge. Let me go ahead and give you some resources now. I hope you have your cell phone with you or something to write down. It's good to know your resources. And these are a few that I want to offer you. Oliver Gospel, our phone number, we are a fantastic place to start, especially Kanisha, if you want to know what the next step is for someone, or you want to refer someone to Oliver Gospel in one of our programs. United Way of the Midlands hotline. And take a picture of this, or even as I'm talking, maybe write these down.
Or you can screenshot
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I would have these in my phone. If I were you, it's good to know who to call. Um, so, mental health mobile crisis unit. If someone is having a mental episode, kind of a psychological breakdown, you could call the mental health mobile crisis unit, actually, and they'll be able to assist in a way that actually other service organizations can't. They're professionally prepared to help people that are having a mental crisis there. The VA office, great. They have so many resources. Oh my goodness. If you're helping someone that's a veteran, um, it's really surprising how many people don't take advantage of what the VA office has to offer. And then I would say these other two numbers as well. And again, we're just building the toolbox here. We're giving you resources. South Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. They're going to help. If someone has been assaulted, if you or someone is experiencing domestic violence, this is the phone number to call. And then, of course, the National Sex Trafficking Hotline is right there at the end. But yeah, these are just a variety of resources. If you're at a loss, you don't know who to call, you can always call All Over Gospel, and we'll help you with the next step.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this one before we head on? The third guiding principle is know your boundaries. So Kenesha, tell us a bit about this one. And this one I think is very important. What do we mean by this, and why is it important to have boundaries?
It is so important to have healthy boundaries. We want healthy boundaries when dealing with people that are in um, situational homelessness or chronic homelessness. So one of the ways could be, if you want to get to know the individual, have a time where you say, okay, hey, I have 15 minutes to talk to you. Would you like to sit down with me for a couple of minutes? Putting a time frame on that so that it doesn't go into, hours and hours and hours. And that's a healthy boundary for you as well as that person. And knowing that the boundaries are not like an enemy when helping someone. It is healthy and important to know your limits so that you can help someone to the fullest extent. And some examples would be, do not give rides in your car to people that you don't know personally. If you feel like your safety is at risk, you do not give a ride to someone. And that's just to anybody. That's not even just to anyone in homelessness. That's just to anyone, any stranger. Do not forcibly help others because you want to respect their boundaries. If they're constantly telling you, I don't want help, one of the things you have to do is respect that. Maybe they're not ready for it at that time or at this particular time that you're offering it to them. The thing that I live by is to keep myself in sanity, because I know I get a lot of phone calls throughout the days, throughout the weeks, saying, hey, can you help me? Hey, can you help me? That kind of thing. Or if I do call them back, they're like, I'm not interested. I'm not interested at all. Is okay. If I plant, then somebody else will, they will add, and then God would give the increase at the end. So that goes back to that beating yourself down mentality of, oh, I really want to help this person, but if they don't want the help, they don't want the help. And you have to respect that. You really do. Another one is for your safety. Do not help people that you don't know after sunset or before sunrise. So that means after the sun goes down, and if you're by yourself, walking on the side of the road or something like that, that's not a really good area, or I would say, to help someone. And also never approach someone when they're in their living situation. I see it happen a lot of times where people that we invade the privacy of someone, although we look at it, okay, where they're living on the streets, they don't have any place. But if they're in their tent or if they're in their sleeping bag, never try to startle them. Because you just don't know, and you want to protect their boundaries and say, if they want to approach me, that's fine, but I don't want to invade their privacy and their time of rest, because maybe that's the first nap that they could get in 3 days or something like that. So just being very cautious of that, and being concerned for your safety and safety of others. Um, so are you in a well-lit area? Are you in a public place? Is the person hostile? And are you alone or with someone? And in all situations, please remain calm. This is the hugest point that I want. If you never get anything else out of this, please remain calm. If you see someone is hostile towards you, or there's a crisis of some sort that's going on. An example could be when I was a preschool teacher. If one of my kids fell or scraped their knee or busted their lip, or if I saw blood of any sort, although my stomach is very weak to blood, it is. But my first thing wasn't, oh my gosh, you're bleeding everywhere. Oh my gosh, like we have to help you. Your leg is falling off. It was never that. It was more so, okay. All right, so you got a boo-boo. Let's get up. Let's go get changed. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Stop crying. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna call mommy, and then we're gonna let them know what's going on. But it's like you're talking someone down from that crisis. And another thing is, if you see someone in a crisis, is please don't tell them that you're going to call 911 on them. Please do not do that. Please don't. That is a safety risk for you at that particular time, especially if you're out in the open. Let's say you're on the sidewalk or something like that, and you're not by your car, or is not where you can run into a place where you can lock a door. Never tell someone, I'm going to call the police on you, and they're going to come out here and they're going to do this, because it may take them 15 to 20 minutes to get out there. So that gives that person 15 to 20 minutes to do whatever they're going to do, and then they can run off, and then you don't really have a good description of who did it. So just being cautious of those things. And our ultimate goal is to refer people to resources in the community, such as Oliver Gospel, where someone can help. So if you don't feel safe or you don't know what to do, just always give them that number, our number, or you can always refer them to United Way of Midlands 211. So yeah.
Well,
so that's just with knowing your boundaries.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, boundaries are not the enemy. It's healthy and important limits, so that you really can help someone to the fullest extent. Like, really, friendship is one of the most helpful things that you can offer someone who's in a situation like this, and knowing how much time you have to offer. I often I have some friends that are experiencing homelessness, and I love to meet for coffee with them. And I know, if I'm meeting for coffee in the morning, say, I know that I have to go into work at 8, so that's kind of the end of my time with them, and I state that, and that's a helpful way to kind of manage expectations, and also just kind of keep clear boundaries there in that way. But all of this, of course, is to value the person and to respect the person.
And we really do. We really, really have to learn how to do that. And it's something that you're not going to always get right every time, because every situation can be different that you deal with from time to time. But just always remember just to know your boundaries, know what you can do, how you can help. And if you can't help, refer. That's been the biggest thing as a social worker, is refer. If you can't help someone and you can't help them, just refer them to someone that can. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Good word.
Yeah.
Kanisha's going to go off on this one. We've got a one that feels good right after this one, so bear with us. But this is check your motives, aka check yourself. But this is principle number 4: check your motives. I have to challenge myself with this all the time. But Kanisha, tell us a bit about what we mean here.
Yes. So Another tool, a guiding principle, will be to check your motives. I love something that you said earlier, Will, like when you said sit down with yourself, or with the family member and check what your principles and what your values are, your morals. And sometimes we surprise ourselves, or you can do an assessment if you really want to know, like who am I, at the core of me. So when you're checking your motives, I always say just imagine yourself in that situation, and how would you want to be treated? It goes back to that first principle of being kind, smiling, body language. It goes back to First Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, where love is patient, love is kind. It goes back to that principle. Um, so just responding to people the way that you would want someone to respond to you. I try to treat everyone with respect when they come through that door, or when they're emailing me, or when they're calling me, or when I'm doing a face-to-face interview with someone, because I always know that that line is constantly getting thinner and thinner. And you just have to be very careful, because you can be the person sitting across that counter, that's needing assistance. So always treat that person, with respect. And that goes back to that. Um, and another thing is, how can I say this? It should be done with the right intentions, of course. And simply saying, like, this is my good deed of the day. I was telling Will this yesterday. My mother, she used to say, oh, you know what? I gave such and such a ride to the store today. And I gave him some, um, I don't know, I guess gas money so that they can get back, or a bus ticket. That's my good deed of today. And I used to get so furious. And this was before I became a social worker. I was just like, stop saying that. Don't say that. Please do not say that. That sounds so horrible. But sometimes we can help people, and we don't even have to say that this is my good deed of the day, but we can internalize that thing, feeling like, I feel better about myself. I helped someone. So we just have to really check our motives, just at the door, just to make sure that we're not coming off self-centeredness, and we want to make sure that we're as genuine as possible. I saw this post on Facebook a couple of months ago, and they had this guy. It was this huge bowl, like a fish bowl, a clear fish bowl with a bunch of keys in it. And the guy told the other guy, he said, look, if you can get the first try, get the right key to open this door to this house, you can have it. He didn't give him a second or a third try, fourth try, that first one. It had to be maybe about 50 or 60 keys. And I was like, wow, that is so harsh, because if that person is experiencing homelessness, that's, that's kind of a dagger to that person's confidence and everything. Like everything is riding on getting this one particular key out of this bowl and fitting it in. And you're praying, like, okay, I hope it fits because I need a place to stay, or whatever the situation is. So we want to keep from posting things on social media about the things that we're doing. Um, I'm not saying like agency wise, but I'm saying like individual wise. You don't need to take pictures with someone doing like this. Hey, I helped this person today. I made them smile. I gave them this. I went and got a haircut, or videoing it. We just have to be very careful about things like that. And then we don't know what type of mindset that person is in. So um, if you don't ask for permission and you just think, okay, I'm just going to do this, that person may not want that to be done. And, that could also cause a safety risk as well. So just being kind, it goes back to being kind. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good words. Good words. I love that. It's you know, part of this is a maybe a more complicated principle, because it really is an
Hmm.
internal question, but you know, when- it can be very easy to get stuck in a place where you um, are, well, when we're trying to be the person's savior, and um,
Mm,
it, and even wanting to give that person what we think they need, um,
exactly.
right? Or even what's convenient for us.
Mhm.
I think that prayer is very powerful, but
Yes, it is.
I have seen sometimes people will say, "Well, I'll pray for you about that," and um, it's hard to tell. And I don't want to say I know people's hearts, but sometimes the reason someone does that is it's more of a way to end the conversation, and unfortunately, just to move on and to kind of have quote unquote done your part. And I say that with humility. I don't mean to,
Mhm.
I think people are well intended most times, but there are times where, it's maybe more helpful to listen and to kind of find out what the person really needs, or even to offer them friendship. Um,
Mhm.
and to not impose upon someone what we think they need, or even what's yeah, I mean, that does lead into our next principle, and I want to go to this next one, and be
Mhm.
cognizant of time. Be open to learning. um, this is so important. And just in a moment here, we're going to look at some specific examples, like when someone comes up to your car asking for money, what do you do? And we're going to show you how these principles apply and kind of bring them from kind of ideas to, okay, practical, how do we do this? So tell us a bit about Be Open to Learning, Kanisha, and then we'll go on to some specific examples.
Yes, yes. So, a part of being open to learn is we all know that talking it helps, right? If I sit down with the counselor talking, it helps. If I sit down with a friend venting, all of those things do help. And within that venting and talking, it's a story that's there. And knowing that that person's story is so powerful, but it requires the other person to actively listen and being engaged and being attentive to that person and
Mhm.
allowing them to share their story, and as well as you exchanging your story as well, not in a way of, well, that didn't happen to me kind of thing, but just saying that we're on an even playing field. Like, you're sharing your story, I'm sharing my story, I'm sharing my heart, and I want you to share your heart as well in your mind. And that just goes back to, how do you love your neighbor? How do you love someone? A part of relationships and building rapport is you have to listen to people. You really do. After I pick up the phone and after I ask them, how can I help you? I always say, can you give me a little bit of information about yourself? Tell me a little bit about you and tell me, how did you get here today? From this point to that point. So just pointing them to, okay, so before this situation happened, what happened before that? And then just letting them chart that path back to what really started their situation of homelessness or chronic homelessness. So just listening to them, and as you learn, I mean, you get to know that person, and you'll be able to provide services, and then you'll be able to look at that person differently. And it's so much different when you have someone that's close to you that's going through something like this, because of the simple fact they're close to you and they're going through something like this. And it's so easy for us to judge those, that if we don't have someone that's going through something similar to that, then it's like, oh, that's their problem, or that's their situation, or that's them being lazy, or that's them not wanting to work, or that's them choosing to live that lifestyle. When it's more behind that, is more behind that. And I think that's where that exchange starts between you and that person. Because you don't know what the situation is, and if then, and that starts also not just with the exchange, but walking alongside them to see what can I do to help you, to better yourself. Of course, we go back to like respecting their boundaries and that kind of thing, respecting their time and putting a cap on your time as well, but also being open to learn about them. And then that would change your view of how you view others and
Hmm.
how you view those that are going through those situations. So it's never oh, well, they're just this or they're just that. It's not the stereotypical putting them in this category where they just don't want to do. They do want to do. These people do want to do. They do want to have better. They do want to get off the streets. They do want to come out of addictions. They do want a stable house for them and their children. They want these things. It's just they don't know how to get there. And that's where we're there to bridge that gap between how do we get from over here, get them from over there to get them over here. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that it's unfortunately because of the stereotypes and biases we learn, just growing up from society. It, the more friends that I make that are experiencing homelessness, and this is just my experience that I'm speaking from right now, I just constantly am looking up to my friends. I'm admiring them because I hear these stories and I get to know someone and I find out, wow, this person is happier than I am. This person
Yeah.
has more faith than I do. This person is more content. They're more they're braver than I am, and they're stronger than I am. And that's my
Mhm.
experience. I'm just speaking
Yes.
personal experience right now, but for me, um, I actually it's I get more out of I I'm helped more by being in these relationships with people that are experiencing homelessness. Because if you watched our first webinar, there are so many factors that are um, at play here, and it's very difficult to get out of homelessness. It's a long process,
Mhm.
and it takes a lot of
Mhm.
time. I've seen people, they'll kind of go straight into interrogation mode. It'll be not a conversation, it'll be an interrogation.
Right. Oh,
And
yeah.
that's why it's so important to listen. It'll be, hey, what's your name? You got a job? Uh, okay. Where do you live? Uh, and just kind of like, just it's like it's inquisition mode. It's an interrogation, and it's not a conversation.
Mhm.
So that's something I'm challenging myself with all the time. How can I make sure this is a conversation? How can I respect this person and be on equal footing with them? Um,
Yeah.
okay, so we've been kind of,
And I do want to say one more thing
yeah,
before you
yeah,
finish that statement. And being with what you were saying about building those relationships, remembering that these people are more resilient than we could ever be. I mean, they're more resourceful. I mean, they're brave, they're courageous. I mean, they have characteristics that I can only pray to God that I can have those same, be as resilient and as resourceful as they are, you know. So it's a blessing to get to know these people. To get to know them and to love on them as much as we possibly can because they are resilient. That's just exactly who they're not broken. They're not, we don't look at them here at Oliver Gospel as they're broken or I'm saving them or I'm picking them up and putting them on my back and that kind of thing. It is they're helping me, they're helping me, and just seeing the resilience of the women and the children and the men that's in recovery and even the men that's in our refresh program, that takes a lot of guts to do what they're doing. And I mean, they're making it happen. They're making it happen. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. They're really the heroes of the story.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this to you all watching. If you hear anything, just hear us saying that. I mean, these are fantastic people, and it's just so good to get to know these people because you learn so much. I learn so much every day, and you find it's just not as scary as people make it out to be. It really
I
is.
know.
You know,
It's not.
it's so fun.
I have some of the most gentle giants that come in, and they wouldn't hurt a fly. They really would. And they come in every day to check on me. Hey, how you doing? Just checking up on you just to see how you doing. And that, to me, that makes my day. It really does. I'm
Yeah,
not trying to, put on a facade, but it really does make my day, and it makes it go easier.
that's
So
right.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're coming almost to the hour, so we're gonna kind of finish out here. Just want to give some real applying of these principles because these are big ideas. So let's kind of take it down and say, okay, if someone
Right.
comes up to my car, if someone comes up to my car asking for money,
Mhm.
how can I apply some of the principles I learned today in that situation? So let's kind of talk that through. Um, I think we said, we would be kind in that moment. That's the first principle. So what does that look like?
Yes.
It means I am making eye contact with the person asking,
Right.
even if I don't have anything to give them.
Yeah,
I don't have loose change. Maybe I'm smiling at that person, even waving. That's just human dignity, and that's just
that
respect.
is.
I know it's sometimes uncomfortable. But I challenge myself with that. I'm just like, okay, how can I show this human being that's right here respect that they deserve? And that's just
Exactly.
and maybe the have a plan is when you get the piece of paper out and you kind of decide with friends and family, what is the plan? Um, you decide for yourself, am I comfortable giving something to someone when they come to my car or not? And there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, that's something that you decide. But what is the plan? If you do end up deciding that you would like to have a, a prepackaged bag or something to give, really, even ponchos are so cheap. And that can change someone's day on a rainy
It
day.
sure can.
Oh my goodness. So, rolling down your window, hey, here's this prepackaged, that's the plan. You've thought about this before. Here's what I give in these scenarios. Um, and then know your boundaries, of course. So, if it's maybe the light is turned green, healthy boundary is I cannot stay parked here. I have to move my
Right.
car because it's green. But Kenesha, if someone comes up to you and it's hostile, what's some advice you have in that moment?
So if someone comes up to you and they're hostile, it just depends on where that place is. Now, if you're in your car, then you're in a safe location. If you are on the street and someone comes up to you hostile, always be very calm and be very kind, and have a plan of escape. That is very important. And you don't elevate your voice to match their voice, and you don't say, I'm going to call the police on you. So those are just tips to make sure that you can get away safely, but that person is not harmed, as well. So we just want to make sure that we're doing the best to not only protect ourselves, but to protect our clients and our guests here, or anywhere or anyone. If they're not bodily harming you or something like that, don't use the "I'm gonna call the police" thing. Like you were saying, we have the crisis unit, or slowly walking past them. Don't go up to them if you see that they're already hostile. Maybe moving to the other side of the street or the road might be better. If you have someone with you, then you can walk by that person and feel, like they're not going to be hostile. But yeah, so just be kind and calm. Those
Trust
are
your
two things: be
intuition.
kind and calm.
Yeah, trust your intuition in a moment. And
Yes,
These
yes.
boundaries, what they really do is they empower you to help someone and to know when you can't. And that's an important distinction to make, and it's helpful to know when you can help and when you can't help, when to engage, when not to engage, when to
Mhm.
refer, when to refer to.
That's right.
Um, and I'll just briefly finish with this. If you have a friend or family member that you know is living in poverty, this is where some of the other principles come into play. Of
Mm,
course, be kind is kind of this in all of these.
right.
Um, so, being kind, but
Yeah.
know your motive. I think that one's significant
Mhm.
in this one. Is your motive for helping them? Is it shame? Are we embarrassed that this family member is in poverty? And if that's the motive, maybe you want to talk to someone or kind of think through, what are maybe some other motives that I could work towards for wanting to help my family or friend. Um, be open to learning. Um, you know, be because there's so much to learn from someone. And the unique opportunity with a family member is you get to walk through that journey with them. You get
Mhm.
to be a voice of encouragement and support in their life as they go through this often very painful journey out of poverty. It's important to empathize with people, to cry with people. I think these are great gifts that we can give to someone. I am cognizant of the time right now, so I do want to take us actually to the last question here, which is um, the one I promised earlier. How does helping someone help me? Um, and just briefly, Kanisha, if you want to speak to this one.
Yes. So, how does helping someone help me? Um, like we mentioned earlier, there should be an exchange. There is no savior of, I'm going to help you and, I'm the person with the cape on my back, that kind of thing. Know that there's an exchange, that that's something that they can give you. There's something in them that they can give you, and it's something in you that you can offer that person. It helps you because you look at people differently. You do. And like I was saying earlier, we put so many stereotypes on people that they're lazy, they don't want to work, they're this, they're that. So it helps you to help someone else because it gives you a clear depiction and a new perspective that you never saw before, even if it's with a family member or a friend. Um, it's some things you learn. I learn every day. Like my job is literally a classroom, and I come in every day learning something different and new. I'm helping everybody that I can, from whatever, from background in domestic violence or sexual assault, or someone that just needs a place to stay, addiction recovery, anything I can get a call about. I can have someone on the phone crying, screaming, hollering, and calm. Um, but those are the type of phone calls I get. So just being able to say, hey, like I can help this person, but what are they doing to help me? Like they're helping me gain these tools of knowledge, so that I can help the next person.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Oh, I love that. And we're just going to conclude here. Thank you, Kanisha, for that. That was
No,
fantastic.
you're welcome.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. What a fantastic second webinar this was. You'll see in the chat the registration link for the next webinar, which is with Thrivent. We're actually doing a webinar on just financial tips and advice from professionals. If you already have a donor advised fund or maybe don't even know what that is, this is the webinar for you. Also, this webinar was presented by the Champion Society. If you don't know what that is, it is a society made up of donors like you who donate monthly or quarterly. And champions are just, oh, we love our champions. They receive limited solicitations, a 20% off discount card at the roastery for the whole year. and personalized monthly updates on the growth of Oliver Gospel. If you want to learn more, go ahead and check out that link. Or if you want to get more involved, visit olivergospel.org.